We begin CBS2 News at 11 with breaking news. 3 people shot in North Hollywood, and the suspect is on the loose.
We have Stu Mundell up in Sky 2. Stu.
That's right. We understand one person passed away inside the home, a second person taken to the hospital by LA City Fire. It's all happening out here in this North Hollywood neighborhood at the corner of Denny and Victory. LAPD is starting the investigation right now. The motive for the shooting unknown, but we do know when we first arrived here on scene, LAPD was evacuating that home and actually carried one of the shooting victims out to the corner. Live in Sky 2 over North Hollywood, I'm Stu Mundell. Back to you two in the studio.
Thank you, Stu. Now more breaking news, this time in Pasadena, where there was a massive evacuation over a suspicious package. What police thought was an explosive device was attached to the back of a U-Haul.
Sheriff's bomb squad was called out and about a half-mile radius was evacuated. It was found right on the corner of Raymond and California Boulevard. CBS 2's Rachel Kim.
Live on the scene with the latest. Rachel.
Yeah, Pat and Jeff, behind me, you can see that the streets are open, but investigators are still here at this U-Haul facility. The suspicious package was found on one of their trucks. A short time ago, authorities detonated the package and rendered it safe. But earlier tonight, this device prompted a massive response. Let's take a look at video of the robot authorities sent in to check it out. Pasadena police say this all started around 6 p.m. when they got a call about a suspicious package that was attached to a U-Haul rental truck. Authorities evacuated the area in all directions, 2 to 3 blocks deep, which included residences, businesses, a homeless shelter, and the KPCC newsroom. Pasadena police and fire, LASD bomb squad, the ATF all responded. Because the device looked so convincing, authorities ended up detonating it, and since there was no loud explosion, they do not believe right now that it was an actual explosive. But they say the investigation isn't over. They're going to see who was involved, why they did it, and what was actually inside the device.
The device was in fact about 6 to 8 inches in length. It did look like a device of the bomb squad. I couldn't tell you the details. There was some wiring, there was some taping, and so it was enough for them to decide that in fact it looked like a real device. It was an open device as it's just itself contained with the mechanics of what a device would look like, and it was attached to the back of the vehicle.
Investigators will be looking for any surveillance footage from this area to see who or what it may have caught. Reporting live tonight in Pasadena, Rachel Kim, CBS 2 News.
Well, the city of Pittsburgh turned blue tonight to honor the 11 people killed in a hate-filled attack on a synagogue on Saturday. The suspected shooter made his first court appearance today. Robert Bowers didn't enter a plea. He was shackled in a wheelchair, recovering from injuries he received during a gun battle with police officers. Bowers is accused of killing 11 people and wounding 6 more, including 4 police officers. He faces 29 federal charges, and prosecutors intend to seek the death penalty. Outside the synagogue, there is a Star of David memorial for each of the 11 people killed. Rabbi Jeffrey Myers moved the congregation's Torah from the building this morning.
I'm not just concerned about the rise of anti-Semitism, I'm concerned about the rise of hate in our country.
President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump plan to visit the synagogue shooting site tomorrow.
At LA City Hall tonight, there was a show of solidarity with the Jewish community of Pittsburgh.
These names we will remember. Joyce.
The names of the victims killed in the synagogue shooting were read aloud during a vigil tonight. Mayor Eric Garcetti, who is Jewish, helped honor the dead while other attendees voiced fears.
We remember these folks, a dentist and a doctor, a university researcher and a substitute teacher.
But I do worry for my family. I have my grandchildren who are young, and I says, are they going to be threatened as they get older?
And a lot of people who went to that vigil blamed the politicians, they say, for the dangerous rhetoric.
The attack on that synagogue was on the minds of officers who swarmed an East Hollywood church this afternoon after people reported seeing a group with guns. Well, it turned out to be a music video being filmed at that church.
Yeah, but the weapons, they still looked real. And the LAPD, they weren't taking any chances. CBS 2's Tom Wade is live in East Hollywood where he talked with the performers. Tom.
And Jeff and Pat, as you can imagine, when police started getting calls that there were men inside this church just behind me with AR-15s, they didn't know what to make of it, so they took all precautions to make sure the site was safe. Tonight, only silence from this small East Hollywood church, but this afternoon there was fear and confusion as the LAPD flooded the neighborhood. The cast of a music video was detained after someone reported seeing them carrying AR-15s inside the church. Officers raced here not knowing if the weapons were real or fake.
Officers see these rifles and they're thinking it's the real deal. Based upon everything that's occurred in the nation over the last week, we're going to take precautionary measures and, of course, treat this as though it was the actual real situation, real deal with the suspect being armed.
The guns were replicas, props being used as part of the shoot for the rap video. The LAPD says the group did not have a permit. 2 people, including the director, were arrested. After the cast was released, we spoke with one of them about what happened.
So you're aware now of the fact that there was a shooting where multiple people were killed at a synagogue in Pittsburgh. Okay, so you could understand why people were panicked when they saw what was going on here.
Yeah, we were actually like inside the doors. We were just shooting, you know. There was a camera clearly in view. I don't know why they, did this. It's just unnecessary. It's just a waste of time.
Everything that they're using, to my knowledge, is all props. They're really good guys. They don't have any, criminal backgrounds or anything like that.
Police say this frightening misunderstanding could have easily been avoided.
The director should have known better that he should have obtained a actual permit to film here.
The name of the song was Jamala Nye. That's the video that they were shooting here. It translates to no worries, which of course is a bit ironic considering what happened here. We tried speaking with the people who run this church. They would not talk to us on or off camera. Reporting live in East Hollywood, I'm Tom Wade, CBS 2 News.
All right, Tom, thank you. Well, this was real. A dramatic chase and a shootout this evening on Interstate 17 in downtown Phoenix. Police spun the truck around using a pit maneuver.
Now watch this, though. That's when gunshots were exchanged between the suspect, 5 Mesa police officers, and 3 troopers. You see that white stuff there, that white smoke? That's from gunfire. The suspect died. 3 troopers were injured, but they are expected to survive.
There's a showdown brewing at the Mexican border. The Pentagon says it is now sending 5,000 Army troops to beef up security here in California, along Arizona and Texas.
Well, the move comes as 2 large caravans of migrants hope to reach the United States. CBS2 political reporter Dave Bryan is here now with late details.
The president, of course, says he's finally going to secure the border, right, for once. Yeah. His critics, though, think he has some different motives. President Trump has made immigration and the caravan issue the centerpiece of his midterm election campaign, and with just 8 days to go, he has no intention of letting it go. So today, in response to what the president has condemned as an invasion of our country, he ordered more than 5,000 troops to help close off the border to the migrants. Tonight, an initial group of 800 soldiers is already on its way to the border in Texas. And this week, troops are also expected to be heading to the border in California and Arizona. More than 5,000 troops altogether.
By the end of this week, we will deploy over 5,200 soldiers to the southwest border. That is just the start of this operation. As we sit right here today, we have about 800 soldiers that are on their way to Texas right now.
And the soldiers will be fully armed. Their mission is to supply planning, medical, transportation, and aviation support to U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agents. Meanwhile, the invading migrant caravan, made up largely of families with children, is reportedly still hundreds of miles from the American border. The caravan is down to about 3,500 people now, but another group of immigrants, estimated at about 3,000, is still trying to get into Mexico from Guatemala. And some members of that group clashed Monday with Mexican police who are blocking them from entry. Their ultimate goal, of course, is to reach the U.S. border.
We saw those tactics, which are different than we've seen in past large groups, and we want to be ready for that. Our message to the organizers and participants of this caravan is simple. We will not allow a large group to enter the United States in an unsafe and unlawful manner.
Now, President Trump also tweeted today that this is an invasion of our country and warned the caravan that the military is waiting for them. And he repeated that the caravan includes gang members and some very bad people, even though there's no evidence at this point that that's the case. Pat, back to you.
He was disheveled. He was acting oddly.
Only on 2, the victim of a crime, confused and badly bruised. So why did sheriff's deputies drop him off and not get medical attention?
Plus, a school bus swept away with a student on board. So why was the driver put under arrest?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Garth Kemp. What a day today. We head towards November. We'll have your forecast coming up.
And here's a look at the guests tonight on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.